should cap your brokers at like 15-20% max of your
Mm-hmm.
income. A lot of it, majority of your income should be generated from private pay.
Welcome to the channel, guys. This is NEMT Mastery with Dalil Noah. We're the co-founders of Medivance, 8+ figure NEMT owners, and we have a combined 12+ years in NEMT. So we really just want to dive in. We've gotten a lot of questions about starting in the NEMT business from zero. All right. So as mentioned, we have quite a lot of experience. We definitely want to pass that on to you guys, so you guys don't make those same mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I guess, yeah, step one would be really understanding the NEMT industry, diving in your local market, joining local groups, and just, yeah, getting some more information that way so you can really set yourself apart. I would definitely start with, yeah, diving into the industry.
Who are we targeting? Like who would you say this is for specifically?
Yeah, I would say this is for either brand new owners, right? You've just set up your LLC, maybe just purchased a vehicle or two, or people that are really just looking for more information before taking that step. So
Yeah. Okay. And then how would you kind of describe the NEMT industry now in the next 5 years? Is it a business for people to get into? Is it something that is dying? What do you think based on
yeah,
doing it?
so I think definitely a good industry to get into. Definitely, I think that, like we mentioned, the baby boomers are growing, steadily, over the next 5 years. So I think there's definitely a huge market for NEMT. On the other side of that, obviously Uber and Lyft coming in, um, yeah, it's going to definitely hurt the volume a little bit, at least with ambulatory for now. So that's definitely something to pay attention to. Definitely do your research on that. Not a lot of people are talking about it. So yeah.
Yes. I think the industry is changing quick, like rapidly. I think NEMT back in 2010 when we started, um, compared to where it is now with technology and like you said, the rideshare, everyone trying to get into it, especially after COVID, has changed the standards. You see that now with NEMTAC, one of the probably the only organization that does a good job of like putting everything together.
Hmm.
Standards, setting the new standards. So I think this platform is really good for keeping everyone up to date,
Yep.
new trends, where things are going, how to automate, how to stay afloat with broker margins, how to survive and more so just thrive by creating your own diversified income. So
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
we're just trying to get all that into one. But this is kind of just like an overlay of what's to come. And then based
Hmm.
on feedback you guys give us, we'll really try to dive deeper into what's necessary.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, what would be some of your first steps? No, I know we mentioned kind of doing some market research, diving into just general NEMT research. What would you start with? Business planning, financial, like what do you think was the number one for you? Or if you had to do it again, what would be number one for you?
Man, if I had to do it again, I mean, obviously I would do it the way we're doing it now, right? With the outsourcing. I mean, we have like, I think 90% of our team is located overseas in the Philippines. And that really has combated our broker margins. I mean, our profit margins are like 40, 50 to 60% at times, because we don't have the overhead expense internally, especially if you're in California. I think with the employment, and the unions and all that, I don't know how they're doing it, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Any
A
blue
rat,
state, really? Yeah.
yeah, I think it's a rat race. I think they're like destined. I think they're just like a placeholder for like Uber and Lyft to come in and eventually swoop all of their volume. But that's pretty much it.
So
Uh,
delegating and automating as much as possible from the
yeah,
start rather than implementing it later.
100%. Yeah, I think that's crucial. Financially, be wiser when it comes to like expenses and managing expenses. I think that's big, especially if you're coming new into a business. You see a lot of money pouring in, but if you're not mindful of your expenses, if you don't have a budget plan, then you're setting yourself up for failure. So
Yeah. Yeah,
those are
we're
the
learning to say no early on.
no, yeah, bro. That's
Yeah.
hard though, because like, yeah, you got to be very disciplined. That's very difficult to do. And initially, I don't think you would. I think you take volume with. I think we talked about this when it comes to like brokers. I think it's
Right.
important
Yeah.
to take brokers, start off with brokers, but you should cap your brokers at like 15-20% max of your
Hmm.
income. a lot of it, majority of your income should be generated from private pay, hospitals, facilities, and then like other avenues that you specialize in with schools.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, that's something we'll dive in a future video. How to diversify different markets you can get into. We'll definitely provide some more background on that.
Yeah, and
Um,
if you guys are interested in schools and learning more about that, definitely.
yeah, drop a comment below.
Yeah.
Um, okay, sounds good. And then what about building your fleet? I know we see a lot of NEMT owners, come in, they're super excited. They purchase, 3 to 4 wheelchair vans, brand new. Um, yeah, what would you say the split would be between ambulatory and wheelchair vans starting out?
For every 5 cars, I would say one of them should be wheelchair. I
Yeah.
think the majority of your volume will come from ambulatory. And I think that's another thing brokers do in the beginning is they kind of pressure you into getting a lot of investment up front and then they don't deliver. So that's one of the biggest things that I've learned in the past is don't listen to what brokers tell you. Just follow what they show you in terms of volume. They'll never guarantee anything. So I think start with one van. You drive that van, especially if you have no experience. I highly advise you to gain that experience at least for the first 6 months. Take those trips yourself, manage, and then scale from there profitably. Make sure you have your first 5 vehicles should make you a certain profit margin so that when you scale from there, it's profitable. You're not just trying to make more money to catch up to
Mhm.
expenses.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah, you hopping in and taking the initiative to drive is definitely gonna allow you to learn all those things firsthand rather than, hearing it from your drivers, they're unhappy, they quit. You can get in, get that experience, and then really tailor the your driver and customer experience. So yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, and that's a huge part of what we talk about when it comes to delegation and automation. You have to create the system. In order for you to do that, you have to live the system first and document your entire experience throughout. Figure out what works, what customers like, what brokers like, and then once you have a system, you can put someone in place and train them, and so on and so forth.
Yep, yep, definitely. Um, yeah, and we see a lot of people. Another thing is technology. Obviously, that's a whole whole lot of
AI.
videos we could post on that. But yeah, just to start, I would say, yeah, bare minimum, get a dispatch software, get
Yeah,
integrated with it.
yeah,
Even if it's just you starting with one ambulatory vehicle, I would definitely, yeah, get a dispatch software.
yeah.
That'll
You're
help
still
you. Go ahead.
you're still doing things manually? Damn, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, so that'll definitely be big. There's quite a lot of software you can add on, but I would say, yeah, to start, definitely look at a dispatching software.
Would you say that's the only tech you would advise to begin with? Because obviously you want to manage budgeting, right? I would say you shouldn't be spending what more than 15 to 2,500 before your first trip.
Hmm.
That
All in.
includes,
Yeah,
yeah, I think your biggest expense is going to be your insurance down payment.
100%.
I
Yep.
don't think I don't think you should be paying anything more. Your leasing for the van should be like 500-600 a month, one van. The rest can be contracted through drivers. But would you say there's anything else technology wise other than the dispatch software?
It depends what they're starting with, right? I would say if it's just you, maybe two, 3 vehicles, 2, 3 drivers, I would say, yeah, that I think you can get away with just doing the dispatching software. I think once you get to 5 and above, I would definitely add like a Bamboo HR or something to manage drivers. Just because it can get pretty hectic. So
Yeah, if you're
yeah, I
doing,
would say, yeah, between 1 and 5 vehicles, I think you can get away with dispatch software only for sure.
and if it's a good one, like we use Route Genie, just being fully transparent, it's not just a dispatch software. Like they have other features on there that you can utilize and take advantage of. But for each department, I think you definitely want to have a software. So like Dalil was saying with HR and drivers, maintaining their background checks, following up on their, driver license and so forth. Bamboo would be a big one for that. There's one for like
Yep.
almost each department that we can go into later on when it comes to just technology. I think that's like a video in itself.
Yep. Yep. Definitely. Um, what about, yeah, marketing and sales? Let's say they started with a broker, just so they can make sure they have that volume coming in. Um, Obviously we want to cap that, like you said, 10, 15%. Um, how would you say they go about marketing and sales? Would they start with, like a local chamber of commerce group, something maybe a lot of chamber of commerces
Yeah,
have a
yeah,
healthcare sector,
100%.
so something that way. What would you say? Popping in facilities, kind of what would be your approach now?
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. It made me think about what we talked about with budgeting. Cash flow is a thing. So I take that back. 2,500 is like what you need up front, but you will need cash flow because brokers pay after like 2 months
Right.
for the initial payment. It's net 60, but you don't get paid. You invoice the first 30 days and then you don't get paid for the next 30 days. So your first payment to keep in mind when it comes to brokers is net 60. So whatever money you're paying, you will have to come out of pocket until that first payment. So you'll always be a month behind. And I think that's important to know because that could definitely set your business back.
Yeah, that's something we didn't know. So
Yeah.
yeah, they
Set
make it
back.
seem like it's net 30. So yeah, your first payment will come after 60 days and it'll continue 30 days after that first 60 days. Yep.
Every time you submit the invoice. So you also have to make sure you submit the invoice. Depending on the broker, they can be very nitpicky if they don't feel like paying. So like there's definitely different nuances to each broker. And we can even go into like each broker specifically, like Motive Care, One Call, MTM. I mean, there's like
Yeah.
a few of
Access
them.
to ride. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So those are ones we can all break down the relationships and how to, kind of go with developing those relationships and if it's even worth it. But you asked what was the question
Yeah,
again?
just marketing and sales within their local area. Is that joining a chamber of commerce, them just,
Yeah,
walking into facilities?
yeah,
Um, yeah, how would you do that now, knowing what you know?
yeah, bro. It's all about relationships. Knowing what we know now, like all of your business is gonna come through relationships. That era of like transactionary is over. I think the demand was really high back then. Now they're really focusing on people they like, that really care about the quality of service, that have standards. That's the only thing that's going to set you apart. If not, you're competing with Uber, right? So you're not going to win that battle. If you are, it's only going to be wheelchair vans, and then that's only there's only so much volume you can get from that. So like you said, absolutely join chambers of commerce, hospitals and facilities, visit them, send them, thank you, appreciation letters and gifts. There's other local like ACMA is a big one where you can meet what would we be like care
Yeah, case managers from the
case
hospitals.
managers.
Yep.
Correct. Yep. So developing those relationships and know that you're not going to see anything. Don't even expect anything from them for like the first 3 to 6 months. Just solely give them value and learn about what they need. And then over time, you'll naturally get that feedback back.
Yeah, just making sure that you're integrating yourself within your local healthcare ecosystem. I think would be
100%.
number one, making sure they can see your face at all these conferences,
Yeah.
get-togethers, chamber of commerce meetings, and
Yeah.
really just popping into facilities, like, giving
Exactly.
them your brochure, your card, and just, yeah, start talking to people in your
Yeah.
community.
Just learn, just soak it in, especially if you're just starting, just learn. Like, what are your problems? How can we make it better? Every state, every city is different. So whatever city you're in, I mean, we're in Dallas, so we focus on like the specific niche of Dallas. Like, what does Dallas need, right? Everything is nuanced. So wherever you're at, California, Orange, there's a difference between Orange County and like San Francisco. Understand what that is because that's what's going to set you apart. Learn the basics, but again, you have to understand the city you're in and focus on just that city and master it.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, again, we'll dive deeper into each of these topics we're kind of going over. We just want to give you guys some initial thoughts based on some of the comments and feedback. We'll definitely dive deeper in the next video. So, yeah, one of the last things I wanted to talk about, just dive in a little quickly, was scaling the business, right? So let's say they do all those things we talked about, marketing, sales goes good, they're getting some good feedback from client outreach, scaling and growing the business consistently. What would you say then? I already know you're going to say delegation and automation, but what would be the top thing for scaling the business
I think it's
properly?
your foundation. I messed up. I mean, like the first company we had, our foundation was not solid. Our standards weren't in play. The drivers weren't trained. Our budgeting for the finances were not in set in order. And so we had to
Did that come by, did that issue come by you guys just accepting volume because you thought that was the way to grow? Or what, how did you guys get to that place to where everything got pretty messy?
yeah, we prioritize quantity over quality. Yeah. I mean, that's, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
The money was good, and like it's natural. You just want to grab as much. You got like a scarcity mindset. You don't know how long it's gonna last, and so you just try to ramp up as much volume as possible, um, and eventually it catches up to you. It's not a sustainable business. If your foundation is not set, then you can only build so high up before everything crashes, right? And so you get capped. So for me, before scaling is just making sure you have a good business, a real business, not a self-employee does everything, but like you have departments set, you have systems, you have training, you have policies. And then once you, from there, it's easy. It's just a numbers game. Now you just got to put more money into marketing, more money into
Right.
sales. You know what I mean? Like then it's like sky's the limit because you're
Right.
set. Hire more. That's where the delegation automation comes in. But if your foundation is rocky, you're destined to fall, man.
Yeah, makes sense. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, again, we just wanted to kind of go briefly over some of these topics. I think those are the main pain points that we're seeing. But again, yeah, please leave some feedback so we can give us some guidance on some of these next videos we'll be dropping.
What do you think? Like your, I mean, I know we talked on like small things that a lot of people get caught up on before they start the business that they're intimidated by, like the NPI. That shit is so annoying. The NPI,
Yeah.
the LLCs, like you've never started a business before, you don't understand. You gotta feel so like, what would be your advice to that?
Yeah, I mean it's really just, I mean it sounds simple, but not yeah, just not getting too caught up in that, right? If it's something simple, like it, don't let technical terms throw you off, right? I think that's what it is. Like NPI, LLC, all these things are super simple to do. I would again like just quick Google search, um, and setting up. Really, I would just time block your day at the beginning of starting. That's what I would redo, honestly. If I was
Yeah,
starting again, I would just time block everything. That just it kind of makes you get that stuff done within a certain time frame and not letting you put too much mental energy into it, right? So let's say you're starting your LLC, I would just set a timer meant for an hour. That gives you enough time to do some initial research, 10, 15 minutes. Shouldn't take you longer than that. Go on LegalZoom. They help you. They have some AI that will assist you. It takes 15 minutes, costs you $250. Start your LLC, done. Move on to the next thing, NPI. Once you have that LLC and EIN number, it should take you no more than an hour. So all the initial kind of business setup, I think you should have done within the first, 3 to 5 days of deciding you're starting an NEMT business.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think those things people get caught up in, but just take action. You'll learn, you'll make mistakes, you're gonna fail. Like the point is to just minimize those mistakes and learn from them as soon as possible, so that you have some fundamental understanding of how the business is ran. But I agree. I think the demand is so big that like they're not looking at your LLC, they're not looking at your MPI number. Just get it done. Find an insurance broker. Get that. That's another thing. I think the biggest hurdle is the insurance prices. If you're just getting started, it's going to be a lot higher. And as you build your experience, so low key, if you have an LLC that you can use that's been standing for a few years, you're probably way better off using that just because you'll save so much money on the back end when it comes to insurances. I think that's a
Mhm.
huge hack. You'll go from paying 2,000 to like 1,000 per vehicle. So that's big.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's definitely one of the things I would spend time on too, honestly, would be insurance. Um, yeah, I would definitely make some calls, do some online research, maybe even call some local NEMT companies. And that'll
Easiest
help.
way is
Go
one
ahead.
weekend. One weekend at NEMTAC. I mean, literally everything you need, all the vendors, everything you need to get started, I would say is at NEMTAC, is at the conference. You
Right.
have the main brokers, you have the main insurances. You can always change it over time, but like it removes the barrier of entry to where you can literally apply, build those relationships, take their cards, and then you're off to the races.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think we'll probably drop that link on the description, honestly, for NEMTAC, so you guys can kind of dive in and see if you guys can get some information there.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
and then yeah, honestly, I would call some. That's something we didn't mention, calling some local NEMT companies because I think that'll help with your rates as well when you start diving into rates.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, see what
Oh,
you're.
like comparisons, like that would
Yeah,
be, yeah,
definitely do
it's,
some rate comparisons. I mean, not a lot of people are going to want to share their
nah, you gotta be wise.
yeah. So
Yeah,
definitely call call as a customer
yeah.
and try and get those rates and then yeah, do some cross comparison with the top, NEMT companies in your area. And yeah, I was gonna say that they probably won't share, their insurance rates and stuff. That you just have to call,
But
different insurance
NEMTAC, they
providers.
do.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yep, that's
Everybody
true.
at NEMTAC is like pretty friendly. Like they're all open and transparent.
Yeah, yeah.
That's where I would go
Got
to
it. Okay.
bulk of the information you're looking for.
Yeah.
100%. Surprisingly, most people don't know about NEMTAC, but so yeah, definitely look up NEMTAC. They have a conference this weekend, so if you're really about it, you can still make it. But if not, every year they have an annual convention. I think next year it'll be in Texas, so that's good.
Hmm. Yeah, maybe you guys will see us.
Yeah, definitely. What
Um,
let's dive into the rates though, because that's huge.
mhm.
Because the rates depend on who you're working with. You have broker rates, which is like a completely different game where you have no leverage, and then you have private pay where you have all the leverage or a lot of the leverage if you're providing enough value. And then even schools. So like how would you kind of advise going about
Yeah.
each?
So like you said, I'm kind of looking at this to if I was to start today, right? So like you said, definitely start with brokers right off the bat. I think again, it's just the easiest, and I think it'll allow you to kind of cover that 10-15%, starting out, just so you don't just get discouraged, honestly. So I would get that in, kind of get that barrier over with. When it comes to rate discussions with them, like Noah said, they mainly have the leverage, right? But I would definitely still hold your ground. I think it sets the tone. So if they're disclosing rates to you first, I would definitely rebuttal. Or if you're giving rates to them, I would definitely go higher and then allow that kind of negotiation to start that way.
Yeah, and I think when you're dealing with brokers, you have to go in with the mindset of I'm using them for my business. Because if not, it's very likely that they're going to then use you, right?
Yeah.
So you have to understand that the broker model is only there to fill your gap in time so that your drivers are always working and making money. But they shouldn't, again, be the bulk of your business. And it's very easy for people to get caught up because it's convenient. They're giving you the volume. You don't have to put in the work for marketing and sales. Um, it's just like you take it for granted. But if you want to actually scale your business and grow, you have to go through private pay and like government contracts and so forth, RFPs. You have to go through that. There's no way, brokers are just a low hanging fruit that won't be there forever.
Yeah, I agree. Um, yeah, makes sense. And then when it comes to, yeah, once you have that 10-15% volumes coming in, you have a good relationship with these brokers. Um, and you've already done sort of that initial sales and marketing, within your area. Yeah, I think next step would be trying to find those local, you know, um, healthcare facilities that need that assistance, walking in, then really start to, once they've already kind of met you, like Noah said, show up, no value. I mean, sorry, give them all
Yeah.
value and don't ask for anything in return.
Yeah.
Um,
And more times than not, you want to start up as like a backup driver to whatever, because they probably already have a company if they're not already in house. So you really want to come in as like, hey, look, if shit hits the fan, we're here for you. We'll be on call, and then you kind of make your way in.
and
Even give
it'll happen, man. They'll
it'll
call
happen
you. So just make sure make sure you're here. You're waiting for that call.
100%.
Um,
Yeah,
show up and yeah, that'll be a good start to that relationship.
exactly. Yeah, and then just be grateful for it, man. Just show them the appreciation. Um, show up on time. Show up professional. Make sure your drivers are looking the part. I mean,
Hmm.
there's so many ways we can break it down, but like again, this is high level, just someone thinking about getting in the industry. This is the video and intro for that, and
Hmm.
then you can kind of prioritize it moving forward.
Yep, exactly. Um, yeah, I think we hold off on schools for now. I think we'll hop
Yeah,
in.
that's a gem. You got to earn that
Yeah.
one.
So yeah,
What
we'll
about
dive in.
marketing? How important is like website development? How important is that whole marketing in this day and age? Because we've seen a lot of websites that are pretty shitty. And do you think that does that have an effect? Like, what is that role in this new time, this new era of like technology?
Yeah, I think that's everything. I think, yeah, like you said, there's definitely been some not so not so great websites and marketing campaigns if they're even doing them. So I think, yeah, at the bare minimum, definitely website's huge. Put some at least minimal investment into the website. That'll be one of the first things that, if you're reaching out to these facilities via email, they're looking at either like a digital brochure you're sending them, and then they're going to click your website next thing. So make sure that looks tidy and is a good representation of your business. So
Yeah. Ideally, in best case scenario for like a real NEMT company, your website's set up and you have a Google location and you have reviews on there that are good, that are authentic. Because a lot of times these hospitals are going to Google and look, like we get business from people just calling us based on what they see on our website. So like you want to come to a point where you're attracting business and that you're not always going out. This is just the initial stage. But if you're not eventually attracting business, then you're doing something wrong that you need to tweak. And I think that's
yeah,
like if you're known in the city, like you said, if you're going to the commerce for your city, you're signing up, they should come to you eventually. This is just the starting point.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, going
Brokers,
back to like
yeah,
going back to like physical address. So like I think a lot that's another question. I see a lot of NEMT or people trying to get into NEMT ask is, yeah, do I need to have a physical office location? So I think, yeah, to start, I would definitely go virtual.
100%. Yeah,
But make sure you're getting a virtual office that has a physical address so you
yeah,
can at least get mail or whatever it is to that office.
yeah,
And I think for your NPI as well, you can have a virtual office, but it needs to have a physical address. So
yeah.
yeah, just make sure, or even a shared office. Yeah,
Yeah, it's nothing crazy.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um, I think that's it. Yeah, for the sake of time, I wanted to keep it pretty short. Like Noah said, high level, just diving into kind of the main topics we're seeing, main pain points. Again, drop some comments so we can give you guys kind of a more in-depth video on kind of one topic at a time moving forward. Again, this is just kind of overview of what we'll be talking about.
yeah. I think these are like all the important aspects of running an NEMT, a successful NEMT business. If you're trying to hit 7, 8 figures, you have to build it from the ground up. And so yeah, we definitely here to provide those resources apart from Medivance. I mean, Medivance has the blogs, has the outsourcing, but this will be solely just our experience in relating what works for us. And hopefully you guys can learn from that.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So what do we want to jump into next video? Like, what do you think the main focus should be?
Yeah, I would dive into,
If you're just getting started, would it be brokers,
yeah,
rates,
definitely.
brokers, rates, relationships?
Yeah, I would touch on business planning a little bit,
Oh
just
yeah, that's
and
huge.
then getting into yeah, again, brokers I think would be like their first big step.
Yeah, what to expect, the process, the rates. Yeah, business planning. I think it's because you ultimately, as the owner, want to focus on working on your business and not in your business. And I think that's a deadly, deadly sin, man. If you get caught
Hmm.
up in your business, you're driving, you're picking up calls, you're doing invoicing a couple hours a day, you'll never have time to grow your shit. You'll never have time. Like you'll just always catch up. So it's a rat race. Um, so yeah, I think planning and then having steps in order on when it's time to allocate and outsource and focus on different aspects of your business, because eventually you want to get to a place where you're just networking. You're building relationships with people, you're building relationships with your team, you're learning, applying new tests to different departments, right? And then you're good, and then you're expanding. Now you can scale. Once you've mastered a city, now I can go to 10 different cities, and from there you're good. So
Yep,
with the goal in mind of like selling, right? You want to sell your business. I think that's when you have selling in mind, you create the best product for that. So I think that's, yeah, let's go with brokers first. I think that'd be
sounds
huge.
good. Yeah, I agree. Sounds good.
All right. I
I
think
think that's
that's
it for now.
all right,
Yes,
man.
sir.
Appreciate it. We gotta come up with a name for these guys.
Yeah, the community.
Yeah, we gotta come up
Yeah,
with a name for them. But yeah, I think this is good for now, and we'll grow with you guys. This is new for us. So again, the feedback you give us is huge. So we
hmm
definitely take that seriously. So till then, check out the website, the Facebook page, and we'll
Sounds good. Yeah, we'll drop quite a few links below. NEMTAC, obviously some of our resources, Medivance. Yeah, definitely take a look at that. There should be a lot of free value on there for you guys. So
all right.
sounds good. All
Cool.
right.
See you
Thank you
tomorrow.
guys.